Welcome to the Rugby League Outsiders Championship Show. This is the second episode, backed by popular demand, I'm pleased to say. My name's Karl.
My name's Mark.
And we're going to dive into the first 6 rounds of the Championship Rugby League. We're going to look at the runners and the riders, who's been outperforming, who's been underperforming. I'm pleased to say I've got Mark Austin, our Championship expert, with us today. So, Mark, first of all, first few weeks of the season, how do you think it's gone?
It's been absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I mean, there's loads of things that we predicted and so many things that you just couldn't have predicted. So it's just been a fantastic competition so far.
And Halifax, top of the league.
I didn't predict that at all.
No.
I mean, when the season starts, you do get some clubs that underperform, as we're seeing, and some that overperform, but Halifax has just been a fairy tale. I don't think anyone in Halifax would have predicted what they've got so far.
Yeah, and there's a few teams that we picked a top 4, didn't we, essentially?
Yeah.
Some of those teams, they aren't quite at the races yet.
No, they're not. I think they've got massive. We said ages ago that they've got massive squads, and is it a case of just trying to work out who in that massive squad is going to be their team? Whilst all the other clubs, they've just got like a lot smaller numbers, so they're just going what they've got, and they've got their team built already.
Yeah, so we're gonna dive into the league. We're gonna start at the bottom, work our way up.
Yeah,
I think that's probably the best way to do it. And just for anybody that's watching, if you sort of take any value in this content that we're putting out, Championship Rugby League, please hit the subscribe button, drop a comment in there, hit the like button, just to let us know that we're on the right path. The team for the division, Hunslet. I think we kind of said at the start of the season they're going to have a difficult start. The newly promoted boys this year.
Yeah.
How do you think Hunslet have really got on this year?
I think out of everything that's happened so far in the Championship, I think Hunslet in 13th is something that everyone would have predicted. I think even their own fans would have predicted Hunslet to be 13th. That's not one through a lack of trying. It's just they just don't have the quality available to them. I mean, they've got one player called Noah Booth, who they've got on loan from OKR. I think he was at Hunslet last year, but he's now gone a long-term deal to OKR. I think it's about 3 or 4 years. Loan back to Hunslet, and he's a real flyer. He's one to watch out for in the coming years in Super League, I think. Reminds me a bit of Tommy Johnston, but he's got a real engine on him. He's one of the top try scorers. But one winger or one centre, it doesn't make a side, does it?
No.
They've recruited recently with Lee Gaskell, who's been around many Super League teams.
Yeah.
And he played at the weekend. But again, one ex-Super League player isn't in the halfbacks isn't going to get your team defending, which seems like that's one of their main problems at the moment.
No, so you've put in your notes that they're conceding about 39 points per game.
Yeah.
Only scoring around 11, so they need to sharpen up that defence, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, some teams, they do like to, I remember growing up, there was Newcastle United with Kevin Keegan in charge. It was, if you're going to score 3, go score 4. But if the opposition are going to score nearly 40, that means you've got to score 50. Yeah? And I don't think Hunslet have got it, which is a shame. But reading at the weekend, a lot of their fans have says, well, you know what, we were underprepared coming into this campaign. I mean, they only just got into the Championship through the playoffs. And that was a fairy tale, but now it's the step up. Even into the Championship, I mean, looking at all the teams now, there is no easy team to play against.
No, you're very true. And they didn't have an easy start to the season. I think they played Barrow, Bradford, Toulouse, Halifax in there. Within the first 6 games, never an easy start to the Championship.
What I've seen from Hunslet is that they do tend to stay with teams up until about half time. Right, and does that mean that the opposition are going to say, right, we need to step it up? Or is it a case of with Hunslet, it's just like the fitness is just letting them down? But ultimately, I mean, they've had some hidings, but again, if it was a 40-minute game, Hunslet would be up there.
Yeah.
But it's not, it's 80 minutes.
Fortunately, Rugby League's an 80-minute. Before we move on, do you think we're going to see Hunslet pick any wins up?
If the opposition teams are going to start having major injury problems, then possibly. But I can't see where the next game's where the win is going to come from, because again, like I say, no matter who you are in this division, your next game is going to be a tough one.
Yeah, well, signing Lee Gaskell's a good start. Lee Gaskell can be worth a good 10 points. He knows how to make a gap. He knows how to score. He knows where the try line is. I think just him, I know him on his own ain't going to make a huge amount of difference, but he knows his way to the try line. I think he will help them out along the way.
I mean, I mean, looking at their team, they've got Greg Eden in there. They've got Kevin Leroy, who's had a dabble with Super League. So they have got some quality, but there's just not enough of it to make a championship team, unfortunately. Because you'll want to see teams have that fairy tale and just keep it going, but I just can't see it with Hunslet, I'm afraid.
That's Hunslet then. Best of luck to Hunslet as they carry on the season. I'm sure they're going to get there. I'm sure they're going to pick up a few wins along the way, but like I say, difficult old season. So the next team we're going to move on to, Featherstone Rovers, 12th in the table. I mean, you called this early on in the season. You said, coach is under strain. The fans aren't getting on with him.
Yeah.
Didn't take long, did it?
So Ford, I mean, I said in the podcast before the season started that last year Ford had the fans on his back.
Yeah.
Big time. And at the start of the season, they were still on his back. First game of the season against Doncaster, quite a good victory that was. But then they went away to London and got beat 14-12. And I noticed that the fans' reaction on social media, it was like, Ford's got to go. Ford's got to go. So they got the wishes, but then Paul Cooks took over and they've not won a league game since.
Yeah, and Jed Corcoran, Ireland international coach, I think he's gone there as well, hasn't he? There's been a bit of a...
Yeah, so he's the assistant coach. You got Paul Cook as the head coach, and he said in an interview, he says, I only expected to go to Featherstone to be assistant. So he says, so this has come out of the blue for me. But listening to him in his interviews, he sounds like a coach. He knows what he wants out of his team, and he's going to keep hammering them with what he wants and what his expectations are. And at the weekend, they had a narrow defeat against Oldham. They scored more tries than Oldham, and it's almost like the victory just snatched them right at the end. So they should have won that, but they didn't ultimately. And then next week they've got York away, so it just doesn't get any easier. No,
they got a big thumping by Bradford. Bradford had a bit of a point to prove. They hadn't won there for quite a number of years, but yeah, went on to beat Oldham 30 points to 28. So it's possibly looking good for him. I can't see them staying down the bottom end of the table. I don't know about you. I can't.
No, I can't see them staying down the bottom because they've now got a half-back pairing. That was a major problem for them early in the season because their player went back to Australia, Zach Herring. I think he went back after one game. Yeah. Ben Reynolds got injured, so they've had no half-back pairing. I think they had Danny Addy in the half-backs, and he's not half-back. Every game is going to be a tough one. They could have done with beating London. They could have done with beating Sheffield because now they got beat by Oldham at the weekend, and now they got York away. And York are hitting the straps. So
yeah, York are playing really well at the minute. You've got down here win percentage 17%. They've played 6, won just the one game. So we'll see where Featherstone go. I predict Featherstone are going to go up the table though.
But they've got to sort that defence out. I mean, they're conceding on average 26 points per game. You cannot in this division, in any division, you can't concede that many points and expect to win.
Right, on to 11th placed Sheffield Eagles, who started fairly well, started to slip. They've played 5, won 1, lost 4. I think they did all right in the 1895 Cup. They got to the quarterfinals of that before getting knocked out.
Yeah.
Win percentage 20%. What did you make of Sheffield so far?
Well, when Widnes played them earlier on the season, they played exactly how I thought they'd play, up the middle, right? Hard as nails, their players. Thought we were quite lucky to come away with a win in the end. They lost one of their standout players early on the season to York, Ben Jones-Bishop.
Yeah.
That was a loss. I don't know why he went to York, whether it was him wanting to go to York or whether they need to release him. I'm not sure, but that was a loss for them. And they've got the new coach, Craig Lingard. And again, I predicted before the season started, I really, really rate Craig Lingard, really do. But it's a big thing to take over from Mark Aston. Mark Aston is Mr. Sheffield. And it's not quite worked.
I mean, it's going to take him a while to make his stamp on that side, don't it? I mean, if you look at the results, they've not lost by many points.
No,
they've been fairly close, and I think you've got here. They've conceded 21 points on average. They concede 21 points. That's not that bad, is it? Really?
It's not that bad, but on average, they're scoring 12 points a game.
Yeah, very true.
Which is more than a converted try. Craig Lingard said at the weekend that they need to work much harder on the defence. They're doing all right in patches, but again, to concede 21 points, if you're not going to score anywhere near 21 points, you're going to just keep losing it. And again, the more and more they're losing, the worse it's going to get, because the fans are going to get on his back, because it's like they're just thinking about the Mark Aston days.
Yeah.
I mean, Craig Lingard, he left Castleford, and Castleford haven't done so well, have they?
Well, no, not all. And there's a lot of Castleford fans actually saying now, can we have Craig Lingard back?
Yeah, because there's a process, isn't there? I mean, just like football, rugby league fans quite fickle. We want results because we want to see our team doing well. But in this division, with the playoffs at the end of the season to get relegated, as well as the top 6 playoffs, there's everything to play for. And it's not going to be much for one of these bigger teams to get sucked into the bottom.
Tell you where they will be looking to pick a win, though. This weekend, Doncaster. Rivals round.
Yeah.
Donny got a big tanking at the weekend, so I think that's probably a game they're going to target.
Yeah, I mean, well, Doncaster just one place above them, aren't they?
Yeah.
And it's just going to be, I mean, South Yorkshire Derby, they've not had that many over the last decade, but I think this has got added significance because of where they both are.
Yeah.
I mean, last year, Sheffield were up towards the top. Doncaster were hovering around the bottom.
Yeah, so we'll move on then. Doncaster, 10th in the league. Good win early on against Hunslet. They beat Toulouse, didn't they? That was the proper standout performance of this season. But then they've absolutely fallen away at some games this year.
They have. I mean, I predicted at the start of the season they would have a big pack in the middle, and they've still got that big pack in the middle. It keeps making inroads, that keeps rolling the team down the pitch. But are they running out of steam because of all the big forwards they've got? Richard Horne, after the game yesterday on Sunday, when they've got an absolute shellacking over at York, 66 points to 0.
Yeah.
Richard Horne said it's the worst result he has seen while he's been the coach. I mean, it can't get much worse.
What do you think when you see a coach make a statement like that? Because I know some fans will be on his back and like, oh, well, we've heard this before. I quite like that he's come out and he's just been really honest, to be honest. I think it's quite refreshing. He's just said, look, it ain't going to happen again.
It is. I'm going to talk about Widnes. A few years ago, we had John Keir as coach.
Yeah.
And week after week, just after a few weeks into the season, we were getting beat. And he kept saying in the reports after, in the interviews, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. With the players, they'll sort it out. It's not good enough. He said it week after week, like a fan. It's like, that's what we want to hear.
Yeah.
What else can you say after that? You can't keep bagging the players, can you? You can't keep criticising. There's got to be a bit of positivity, but 66, you can't defend that.
Right, so Doncaster win percentage then of 40%. They've played 5, won 2, lost 3. Predictions for the rest of their season, you think they're going to go up or down?
They need some consistency.
Yeah.
I mean, they won 38-10 against Hunslet, lost to Widnes 26-22, beat Toulouse, got an absolute battering against York. It's up and down, up and down. Again, they may stay down there if they don't get some consistency.
London Broncos then, 9th in the table. At the start of the season, I think we spoke to Mike Eccles at the championship launch. They didn't even have a full squad at the start of the season. So for them to have played 6 games and won 2, give Bradford a good run in the first game of the season, I think you've got to commend what Mike Eccles has done at London. I think they're doing really well, considering.
Well, on the last podcast, we bigged him up, didn't we, as a fella? I mean, he's Mr. London. He had offers to go and coach in Super League, whether it was an assistant or something else, but he wanted to stay at London because he could see there was a project to be done.
Yeah.
And when they got beat by Gould with the trialists, I thought, it's not looking good for London. That's why I predicted him down the bottom. For the first game of the season, they lost at Bradford by 20 points to 6. I think it was only maybe 2 late tries that Bradford scored.
Yeah, there was nothing in that game, mate.
It could have gone either way. Then they beat Featherstone, and that's what saw the downfall of their old coach, James Ford. Then they got a battering at Oldham, 50 points to 6. So a bit like Doncaster, up and down, up and down. They've got a consistent pack at the moment from what I've seen. Players that have got the squad numbers in the pack from 8 through to 13. They're pretty much there. It's just the outside backs that's inconsistent because I think they're just relying too much on dual reg, but that's where they are at the moment, London.
Yeah, and he's been quite smart with it. I mean, I think they've got a dual reg with Wigan. He's pulled in a few decent players there. I think they've got a dual reg with somebody else.
They've got Warrington.
Warrington, yeah, and I think they've had some players from Wigan. So, yeah, I think he's doing well under the circumstances. I think the big story with London, I don't know if we spoke about this on the last championship show that we did. So, obviously, big investment coming into London. We believe NRL interest in London. Gary Everington going to London. The London-Brisbane Broncos was thrown around at one point in the season. I'll just throw this straight at you here. Where do you stand on the NRL coming in, Super League? I think what they've said, they want 6 of the current Super League teams, plus Catalan and Toulouse. And I think London
and Bradford.
I don't think Bradford will.
That's what's being rumoured. Nigel Wood, the chairman of Bradford.
I think there's two conversations going on here. I think there's what's going on, the conversation that went on at Batley, and then there's a conversation that's going on with the NRL. So I think the NRL very much want London to be part of their plans. What do you think of that?
Going back to the mid-90s and 95, when London just got a passport into Super League, I could not stand it. Because I'm a bit... Are
you a traditionalist then?
I am.
Promotion and relegation?
Because that was the reason why Widnes got kicked out, and Paris, right? But anyway, that to one side.
Widnes should have just merged with Warrington, though, shouldn't they?
Shut up. Don't. Let's just move on. Yeah, so I didn't agree with that at all, because I'm a strong believer that you got to work for it. And we just kept pushing it with London, and you can have as many NRL players as you want. I understand why they did it. But I still didn't think it was right. The last time London got promoted, they did it the right way, and they built it with a club behind them, with a proper youth setup.
Yeah.
It was such a shame that they got relegated and they got promoted again the other year. And yeah, so they're doing things the right way. The investment coming in from Australia, that is going to push them in the right direction. As long as it's just not money thrown at the team.
Yeah,
they need to get that youth setup working back again. Well, that a lot of the players have got now is from their old academy.
Yeah, the 100%. London have got, they do a lot of groundwork with the academy. I don't think they've got an actual academy set up at the minute.
No, I think what they've got is
they've got proper pathways into Super League, really.
What they've got, I think, is what a lot of championship teams are starting to do, where they're tying themselves up with colleges and universities.
Yeah.
Because I know at Barrow, it's not an academy, but they've got a proper link up with Finesse College in Barrow. And Widnes, we've got ours with Cronton College in Widnes. And London, they've done, because there's just not the funding for a club to operate an academy by themselves.
Yeah.
Because the ones in the championship that have got the academy tie-up, the academies is Bradford, but they're getting funding from the RFL, I think. So, but that's the way forward. Now, if they can get a proper academy set up again, it's going to take about 5, could be 10 years. But that's the way forward with London.
So, yeah, London, 40% win ratio. Played 5, won 2, lost 3. I think it's pretty good going, considering where they were at the start of the season. And I think they'll probably get a little bit stronger, actually.
I think so too. As long as they can, I mean, with the dual reg, that's where they are. Dual reg and loan signings. But they need some consistency. They need to know who they're going to have from week to week. And because sometimes the dual reg partners, they're not going to give you the players that you want in your team. There's more emphasis on the Super League club saying, we've got these players this week. These are the ones we want you to play. And if they're not the type of players that London want, then they might not get the performance that they need. I think London will start to pick things up. The way things are, I think they could stay down the bottom, which is where I predicted. They're doing better than I thought they'd do.
Yeah, well, I hope they do well. I've got a soft spot for London. I think especially the team outside the traditional heartlands, we've got to have teams thriving outside Yorkshire and Lancashire. So all the best to London. So we'll move on to Batley Bulldogs. And if there's one thing I know about Batley Bulldogs these days, is they've got great pie and peas.
Yeah,
because that was very much in the statement from the
Nigel Wood. He loves the pie and peas, does he?
Nigel Wood and his new crew. Yeah. They went to Batley and they had great pie and peas. Anyway, how are Batley getting on? They've won 40% of their games, played 4, won 2, drawn 1 and lost 1. I think Batley have really picked up some, I would say, probably shock wins.
They have. Yeah, they beat my team. Widnes, when we played at Batley, I mean, this isn't the Widnes show, but it's just from what I've seen. When we went to Batley, Widnes looked quite comfortable. The first half playing down the slope, looking quite comfortable, right? And I thought, we're going to batter these.
The good old Batley Hill.
Yeah, I think, but in the championship, as long as you can just weather the storm for a little bit, you'll get your chances. And as the game went on, they grew and grew. And then at the end, they were just tearing us apart. They got to try. We put them ahead. I mean, they were behind all game. They got to try, put them ahead. And then they just kept going and going. because they got that buzz behind them. And in that game, I know before the game, the coach Mark Moxon was saying that we're struggling. We're down to the bare bones with players. We're working so hard in the loan market. Yeah, but again, they've got whoever they're bringing in, they're buying into the Batley Bulldogs and what they're all about.
They haven't had any. They've had one blowout score against Halifax. Other than that, they've been pretty much competitive in every single game they've played.
Yeah,
especially the was it 1895 Cup or Challenge Cup against Bradford. There was a proper old school biff off.
Yeah,
Did you see that?
Yeah, and but that's what Batley are all about. They're a team, they're a club that they know they're not going to be knocking on the door of Super League other than the other year, but they're not going to let teams bully them. Other than the other week against Halifax, the top of the table, they've got an average of 16 points a game. They're conceding 25, but if it wasn't for that shellacking at Halifax, it would have been narrower. So you really, other than Halifax, you can't really blow them away.
Yeah, so they've only lost to York and Halifax, really. So they've only lost to the two of the top sides. So they're very much in the mix of Batley at this point of the season.
And they drew at Oldham their first game of the season.
Yeah,
Oldham are one of the form teams as well. They've performed really well all the way through the season so far. So Batley. One thing I think we mentioned it on the other podcast is that they've got halfbacks in Ben White and Josh Woods. They are the consistent halfback pairing in the championship. They can keep them every single game. They'll do well.
So what we're saying with Batley, doing well, probably punching above the weight, and great pie and peas.
Definitely pie and peas all the way. But I don't think they're punching above the weight. I just think they are who they are, and they're just going to grind out results week after week. Or if they're not going to get the result, they won't be that far away.
Right, we'll move on. Number 7 in the table, have you heard of these guys? The Widnes Vikings. Look, they're doing all right this season, but I think one place we've got to start with Widnes, Warrington. Challenge Cup. Tell me about that. Was you there?
Was I there? It was an amazing night. I take my daughters now to watch them. They've got season tickets, and I just wanted to show them what a big night was all about. And the Widnes Warrington derby, I said to them, I said, you know what, we're going to get battered here. We are going to just make sure you understand, we're going to get battered, but we're going to enjoy the evening. And after we scored the opening try, I thought, yeah, they're just going to batter us now.
Yeah.
Just as the game wore on, I thought, we can win this. We can win. And they scored 2 tries through our pure stupidity or, lack of skill. We could have won it. We should have won it. But after that, we thought, you know what? This is how we should be winning games, taking teams on down the flanks.
Yeah.
But we haven't done it since.
No, I watched that game. I may or may not have been watching it on a legal stream, so I don't really know where this feed came from that I ended up watching this game on. But yeah, they went toe-to-toe with Warrington, did they? I mean, Warrington were at that point in the season where they were kind of finding the feet a little bit, but I think it really showed what Widnes are capable of, especially look at some of the results at the start of the season. Beating Toulouse first game of the season, you've got to be thrilled with how they started.
We said on the other podcast that if there's a time to play Toulouse, it's the first game of the season when they've not had many friendlies or any friendlies at all. So we won that. I'm not overly surprised, but actually we've won that. Going over to Toulouse at any point in the season winning is a fantastic result. We scraped a result against Sheffield. As I said earlier on, maybe we shouldn't have won that, but no, we found a way to win. Then we got beat at Batley, and after that game, Alan Coleman, heart and soul of Widnes, he was dejected. But he said, you know what, I could see that result coming, the way we played. Even in the early on in the Challenge Cup, in the 1895 Cup, things weren't right. So you would have hoped that game against Batley would have us to get our season back on track, and it did against Warrington. Then we beat Doncaster. Then we had the week off and to get the players back. Then we got an almighty battering in the 1895 Cup against York.
And what happened this week? Barrow, 37 points they put on the board. They're suffering with injuries at the minute?
I mean, Alan Coleman said that he's got about 18 fit players at the moment.
Yeah.
But those 18 players on the team sheet should have won. And in the after-match presser yesterday on Sunday, all the fans were saying lack of aggression, just not being up for the occasion. He says, I'm just frustrated. I just don't know. It's almost like he'd run out of ideas, which isn't good.
No.
But, I mean, thing is, in midweek, he'd signed a new contract, so we've got him now for until 2027. I mean, I made it sound like, oh, we've got him now. That's going to be our consistency.
Yeah.
But we've got to find a way to get new players in, because at the moment, all the players who are getting picked, they know they're getting picked every week because there's just no competition.
How is your halfback pairing going? I spoke to you at the start of the year, said, what's your back depth pattern? And a couple of weeks in, you was like, he's absolutely playing out of his skin.
And
how's he playing now?
Against Warrington, fantastic. Him and Tom Gilmore thought finally they've cracked it.
Yeah.
But since then, it's just not worked. I mean, yesterday he got an injury to his knee, and so he hobbled on for the rest of the game. But Joe Lyons, our substitute halfback, he was the 18th man, so he couldn't come on. But there was fans in the crowd yesterday chanting for Joe Lyons to get a crack, and he does, because he'll take the line on. Whereas Det Patton and Tom Gilmore, they're two similar halfbacks.
Right. How do you think you're gonna? Well, I think you got Oldham this week, haven't you? So don't come very easy. The next game in the league. How do you think they're going to go on for the rest of the season? Do you still think they're going to be like top 6 contenders?
I definitely think, yeah, definitely. But we've got to find a way to raise the game, to get the aggression. If you've got no aggression again in the Championship in the middle, you're just going to get put on your backside. Martin Riley, who had predicted the start of the season was going to be a fantastic player for us, he was fantastic. Yesterday, I don't know whether he's got an injury, but when he was taken, he was going in half-hearted. And at one point, he was about to get put on his backside, so he offloaded it. Barrow picked the ball up, and within the next 3 tackles, they scored a try. So you've got to go into these teams wholeheartedly. Otherwise, you're going to come off second best.
Yeah, I think we said that at the start of the season. It's like, if you're not on your game in the Championship, it doesn't matter who you're playing. It's not like the Super League. It doesn't matter who you're playing in the Championship. You can win or lose on the day. You've got to be at the races, haven't you?
You have. I mean, we've got Halifax at the top of the table. We've talked about Batley already. And there's enough teams in this division you wouldn't fancy that are just saying to all these bigger teams like your Bradford and your Oldhams, up yours. We're here to make a fist of this.
Yeah.
So no matter who you're playing each week, it's going to be a contest.
Yeah, and then up yours to the next team, Bradford Bulls, currently in 6th in the table. They should be doing better than that on what the money that they've spent this season and the squad that they've assembled. But like you say, teams like Barrow have come to odds, so really give them a kick in. Bradford not really doing that well. I think they're just starting to find their feet, but not good enough.
No, it's not good enough. The early part of the season, there was enough people on the players' backs. There was enough people on Nobby's back. And I mean, Nobby's a legend at Bradford. There's no doubt in that. But legend status amongst the players or coach, that's not going to get you wins, is it? You've got to...
Oh, no, mate. You look at Paul Lindsay's legend status has gone right out the window at St. Helens. So, yeah, it don't take much. So, Bradford, they've played 5. They've won 3. They've lost 2. Some heavy defeats, though. They got an absolute kicking by Toulouse. And the thing with Bradford at the minute, they've beaten sides that I would say I would expect them to probably beat. But when it's come to the big games where, it's like, right, you've got to prove yourself at this point, they've fallen way short, I think.
So they beat London. But as I said, they just scraped through against London. Hunslet, up until half-time, They were struggling a bit there at the South Leeds Stadium.
Yeah.
But obviously they pulled away. Then, so they were getting into it. Then they went to Toulouse. And I know you shouldn't look too much at this, but they were showing footage of the players getting on the plane going to Toulouse. And it just looked like to me, a load of blokes going on a bender to Benidorm for a stag do. I'll be honest. And then they got a pasting, didn't they, in Toulouse?
Mate, got an absolute kicking in Toulouse, yeah.
Yeah. And then you think, well, that should serve them right. But then the next week, they got a beating against Barrow. And I think that was they shouldn't have got beaten by Barrow. But again, that's another sign of clubs thinking, we're not going to roll over.
Do you know what I think with Bradford? I think there's a little bit of believing their own hype this year. And I said at the start of the season, I said, look, I expect this team to finish top 2. Based on the players that they've signed, based on the quality of players that they've signed, I expect them right up at the top of the table. I think they have believed their own hype a little bit. And they've gone into games like against Barrow and a bit half-arsed. And they've been kicked in the backside.
I think definitely there is an element of that. Again, going back to the podcast, I remember talking about Featherstone and they'd signed Carlos Tuimavar from Hull. And it says, these players come from Super League. It's all well and good, but do they actually understand what they're going to be expected to do in the Championship with the training regimes. And it's like with Bradford, all the players that they've got, are they fully bought into this whole Championship thing? Or are they bought into, well, we're Bradford and we're all superstars? And see Bradford just carrying on now, and they'll start rolling teams over.
Yeah, I mean, they went to Featherstone this week. They looked like they meant business against Featherstone. Picked up a decent win.
Featherstone in
Featherstone in the league.
Yeah.
They won in the 1895 Cup, and I suppose that's worth mentioning now. There is a piece of silverware that's been dangled, a bit of a carrot's been dangled in front of them. So the 1895 Cup, they've been drawn against York in the semi-final. That's a massive game, that is. Huge.
You know what's raising the team's games in this 1895 Cup this year? It's IMG. Because again, my own team, he says, we're targeting this. We're targeting the trip to Wembley. Yeah, because we won a big game, but everyone's realised it might not be worth loads of points, but it is worth something getting to Wembley for the IMG.
Oh, yeah. I mean, one trip to Wembley compared to how many points you need to pick up, or how many thousands of likes you need to get on a piece of social media to up your grading. Actually, getting to Wembley and winning an 1895 Cup is massive for your grading. Wakefield are the prime example of that last year, aren't they? They went and they won the 1895 Cup first. They got themselves the points for that. Then they won the league. It was a signed, sealed and delivered at that point, wasn't it? So this is where IMG works, in my opinion. I think maybe they should put a little bit more weighting on the actual league positions and cups. Just going on about it, what are your thoughts on the 1895 Cup now? Because I think it's starting to get established.
I think it was the second season, or there might have been the first season of it happening. Widnes got to Wembley.
Yeah.
And I got quite emotional the day before, because I thought, I'm going to Wembley. I'm taking my daughters to watch Widnes at Wembley. I couldn't ever think that would ever happen again.
Yeah.
And the whole day, it wasn't, I can't think of the way, it wasn't as emotional as I thought it would be, because it was after.
It's not like getting to the Challenge Cup final, is it? It's that thing, it's where they put it on after the main event and the stadium empties.
Yeah.
So it does, I mean, would you like to see it played before the Challenge Cup?
I mean, I saw Widnes, it was after Warrington beat Saints in the final, so that wasn't good. But then it was great, because then towards the end of the game, you could hear Widnes fans singing towards the end of the main Challenge Cup final. But then everyone vacated the stadium, so there was just Widnes in one corner of the stadium, Sheffield down the other side of the other end of the pitch. And it was like an 90,000 seat stadium for 8,000 fans. So it's a bit weird. The other year when they did it, I think it was when Lee play York? Or was it a Spurs ground? And I think they did it as a curtain raiser to the main Challenge Cup.
Yeah.
That works so much better. But now the curtain raiser to the Challenge Cup is the women's game, isn't it? Which is fantastic, but I don't know, just having it after.
We spoke about this on our other show a little bit earlier. We like kind of, should the women's game have that big a stage, or would we be better having the Championship teams playing possibly before? I know we're trying to develop the women's game, so yeah, there's a bit of a talking point there.
I don't know how to do the schedule, because again, before the women's game, you've also got the under-11s champion schools, and ever since I was a kid, the under-11s was always the curtain raiser to the final.
Yeah.
So you can't move the under-11s, because for me that is part and parcel of the whole Wembley experience as well. But the 1895 Cup for me is a fantastic competition. Yeah, it's a day out at Wembley, but it does mean a lot to the fans.
Yeah, I like it. I'm a big fan. I think it gives just another dynamic to Championship rugby. I like the fact that League One sides are brought into it.
Yeah.
They've changed the structure a little bit this year. I know we're going completely off the ball here, but yeah, I'm all for them keeping the 1895 Cup, and I just hope it's not one of those rugby league things where we have it for a couple of years and then we go, right, we're coming up with a new structure, or we're bringing the Regal Trophy back, or the Yorkshire Cup, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which seems to be the way we're going a little bit at the moment. So yeah, let's stick with it. I think it's working. It just needs to keep building its profile, possibly have it on before the main event.
Yeah, definitely. We've got to make it even more special.
Right, 5th place, York Knights, started the season dreadfully, got an absolute hammering by Oldham by 50 points to 4.
Yeah.
They lost the weekend after that. Something turned at York, and they've started getting better and better and better. to the point now where I'm saying they're probably one of the most dangerous sides in the Championship at this moment in time.
Yeah.
They're a team that you don't want to play. So that fixture between Bradford and York in the 1895 Cup is looking very tasty at the minute.
Yeah, so going back to last season, they had a horror start to the season. Horror. They were getting battered by Whitehaven, who got relegated eventually. Then they built as the season went on. The players coming in, getting players back from injury. And then they finished with a defeat in the semi-final of the playoffs. I think it was to Wakefield, who went on and won.
Yeah.
Then they started off this season all right, actually, because they played against Hull KR in the Challenge Cup. And Hull KR didn't steamroller them. But it's almost like York were thinking, you know what, we'll be all right. We should steamroller teams. We did well last season. We've done well against Hull KR. But again, clubs in the Championship, they're not going to let you just turn up and win. But they've started to hit the straps recently. Yeah, they got beat by Oldham, battering. That shouldn't have happened. They got beat by Toulouse. Plenty of teams are going to get beat by Toulouse. They got beat by just 8 points.
Halifax, yeah.
And then after that, they've just hit the strap.
Yeah, so I think maybe the fixture gods were a little bit unkind to York. I think the first 3 games were probably, well, they were certainly against 3 of the top teams in the Championship.
Well, you wouldn't have thought that at the start of the season, though, would you? That they would be the top.
No, very true. But now we're looking back at the table.
Yeah.
We've realised that actually Halifax, Toulouse, and Oldham are the better sides in the Championship at this moment in time. However, York seem to be getting into the grind. They're getting better and better, and they picked up a massive win this week against Doncaster. Put 66 points on Donny this week. That was massive, and I didn't see that really coming.
No, and you look at Doncaster's side, and it wasn't a weak side that they put out. Did they catch Doncaster at the wrong time for them, or were York just on it? And I think York were just on it. They battered us last week in the 1895. I didn't see that coming because Widnes, we were really targeting that game.
Yeah.
So I think they're here to stay now, up at the top.
So they've played 6, won 3, lost 3, and obviously they've progressed through the 1895 Cup. Currently 5th in the table. Where do you see York going from this point on in the season? Do you think they're going to kick up and really work their way up the top end of the table?
It's difficult to say because I don't think Halifax are going to surrender their top spot easily. You've got Bradford hitting the straps. Toulouse are strong. You've got Oldham, who are now entertaining, and they're actually working their way up. So I'm not sure. This top 6 actually could be a top 8 of quality teams.
Yeah. Right. A team that nobody expected. Well, I certainly didn't expect it. You certainly didn't expect it. And nobody else who watches Championship Rugby League.
I don't think the Barrow fans realise.
Would have said Barrow are 4th in the table, and they're absolute. Nobody wants to play them. They're just straight and direct, and they're just a team that's. Well, I don't know what you can say about them. They're just punching above the weight, I think, is the right way to say it.
I would say they are punching above the weight because their team that they got this year is really similar to what they had last year, and they only staved off relegation on the last game of the season, which they lost to Widnes. So it was they only got in the Championship by a hair's width. So this season, I expect them to be down the bottom. But again, what they've got is they've just got that grit.
Yeah.
They will just take it to the team, and they'll just keep punching holes all day, like what I saw yesterday. Because they've had a shrewd signing on dual red from Salford, Joe Bullock.
Yeah,
I think he's from the Barrow region, and he was just massive yesterday, absolutely massive.
So they've got a win percentage of 67%, won 4, lost 2, and the only 2 games that they've lost against Halifax and York Knights, 2 of the other teams right up the top end of the table. Do we see Barrow continue this surge? Do we still think they're going to be up the top end of the table later on?
No, I don't, because I think the other teams that we've mentioned, like your Bradford and your Oldham, your York, they're just going to kick on now, and I just think their strength will just overpower the likes of Barrow. I'm not sure about Barrow. I think I've said to you a few seasons ago, Barrow with this team, they got promoted, and everyone thought they were just going to steamroll Barrow.
Yeah.
And then they thought after half a season, Barrow will run out of steam. But no, they just kept putting in the result after result. I mean, the next season or so after that, they then started to drop. But I think this is another season where, you know what, we'll just keep going. We'll just keep going.
What's their style of play? I'll confess, I ain't really seen much of them play. I just turn on the BBC every week to look at the results and I go, oh my God, Barrow have won again. And like, oh, they've won again. It's like, oh, I expect this team. No, Barrow have won again. But what is their actual playing style like? You've seen them play, haven't you?
So no offence to Barrow. The Barrow club here.
You want to say it's up your jumper, uphill rugby
no,
stuff like that?
Actually, no, not quite. Well, you could say that, but no. They just take it to you. I mean, the forwards yesterday, they just kept banging ours back, banging, and in defence, banging us back. It reminded me of a typical Cumbrian team playing in the winter.
Yeah.
You know what? You come up to us, we're going to smash 7 bells out of you. And that's what they did. So the likes of Bradford coming up against, and Bradford players probably thought we didn't see this coming. But it's not. It isn't just that all the way. I mean, yesterday they were spreading it wide, players coming back on the angle, and yeah, our forwards were knackered yesterday.
2 things I like about Barrow, completely nothing to do with how they play rugby. One is the lime green kit that they have.
Yeah,
I think it looks absolute quality. It's a bit Canberra Raiders.
I was thinking that you say Canberra-esque.
Yeah, I love the kit. And the other thing is, whoever runs their TikTok account is quality.
I've not seen it.
Yeah, it's loads of humour in there. They almost kind of take the piss out of themselves a little bit every now and then, but yeah, it's really good value. So yeah. So anyway, Barrow flying at the minute, doing way better than anybody could have anticipated. Do we think they're going to stay up there? Possibly not, but
I think they'll fight for the top 6.
Yeah.
Will they get in top 6? I'm not sure. Again, the quality of the championships has stepped up this year, and obviously the training has stepped up at Barrow.
Right, on to the next team then. Third of the top 3 we're on to now. The people who really mean business. Toulouse, we always expected them to be up there. They're in the NRL's plans for the Super League Europe, NRL Europe, or whatever we're going to call it. Pretty much where we expected them to be. Top 3, I would have thought. I mean, slipped up at the start of the season to Widnes, didn't they? Other than that, they're looking pretty strong.
I reckon they'll possibly look back at that first game of the season. At the end of the season, if they've missed out on one place, wherever it is, they'll probably look back at that and think, God, we dropped one there. First game of the season, we should have won that. But I don't think any team on the first game of the season has got a right to win. And again, it all comes down to, did they have the right pre-season training with the training games? I'm not sure. But since that, I mean, they got a win at York, 7 points to 6. Some people said, didn't see that coming. They got a beating the week before, but actually, they're going to be so strong as the season goes on.
Well, they went on and put 36 points on Bradford the week after that.
Yeah.
I think that's when everyone sort of was like, actually, Toulouse have found the form here, and they've kind of kicked on from there and haven't really looked back, have they?
So that since the Widnes game, they've had 2 home games. They've had Bradford, 36 points to 4, Hunslet, 50 points to 6. You're not going to go to Toulouse, and if you're going to win by a very narrow margin. Other than that, you're going to get a beating. And I think that's the way it's going to be. They've got to be consistent.
We did have that shock win though, didn't we? But we Doncaster went there, and they played Doncaster at Donny, didn't they? And did Donny put, I think, 10 points to 6? They won, didn't they?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. They need, if they're going to win games at home, it's going to be a bit of a fortress. So they've got to get some consistency away from home and getting so they got beat 10 points to 6, right? A close game. But York, the other day, 66-0, they beat Doncaster.
Yeah, massive,
Yeah, so there isn't consistency there with Toulouse, but they've got some really strong outside backs. You've got Benjamin Laguerre, he's just scoring tries for fun at the moment.
So you've looked into their stats and you've got them down as a win percentage of 67%, scoring an average of 25 points per game. But they are only conceding 9 points per game, so they've got a real steel defence, haven't they?
Yeah. Very, very strong, very, very powerful forwards. They will bully you. They really will bully you.
On to second place in the table, a team that we always knew were going to be up at the top end of the table, or at least we expected them to be. Oldham, big spend in Oldham. Didn't quite start the season how I think everybody expected them to. However, they're getting better out there, and they look dangerous now. Well,
they beat York 50 points to 4, and we talked about York maybe not taking the early part of the season seriously. They should. They drew 18-all against Batley, but again, I've said Batley, they're going to front up against any team. Lost against Barrow, but again, Barrow, one of the top teams.
Yeah.
But then, since then, they've racked up a lot of points. 50 against London, 20 against Sheffield, 30 against Featherstone.
And they've got Widnes in the sights come this weekend.
Oh, they've got us in their sights because they've got quite a few ex-Widnes players who'll be wanting to put one over on us.
I went to Oldham at the start of the season, and everything they're doing kind of feels like, I don't think the Super League club in waiting yet, right? However, what they're building around the club is everything's going in the right direction. The fan base is slowly trickling back.
Yeah.
They're highly competitive on the field. They're back at Boundary Park, which is a lovely ground. That's absolute quality. I think I can see Oldham really making a push for Super League in the next few years to come. If Super League has an open door, that is.
Yeah, so they think it's Bill Quinn or Jim. Anyway, one of the Quinns. He's put a lot of money into the club.
Oh yeah,
but he hasn't just splashed the cash. He's actually put some money in the right places. So when you look at the social media, that just looks all professional.
George Riley, the ex-BBC presenter, he's heading up their social media, and you couldn't get anybody better from it.
He's doing a good job.
Every time I see him, I'm like, mate, you guys are smashing it on the social media. It's like it's more professional than what some of the Super League clubs are putting out. I'll put it that way.
When you look at all the social media and what they do and everything about the club, it's just exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's almost like every spring and summer is Christmas for the people of Oldham, because considering how far they dropped since they were in Super League back in the 90s, they've just been a team that has just been up and down to the Championship and down.
Well, they almost didn't exist at one point. I mean, I remember going to Oldham in the early days of the Super League, the watersheddings, and then after they got relegated from Super League, they kind of have almost disappeared out of all existence, and out of nowhere, they've just risen up. And do you know what I like about Oldham at the minute? They're actually exciting to watch.
Yeah,
it's a proper it's what you would expect from a Sean Long coach side, isn't it?
Well, when you're scoring an average of 29 points a game, when you go to Oldham, you're going to see them score a lot of points, and it's exciting. Everything. I'm so jealous of Oldham, by the way, at the moment. They've got that benefactor, but they've just got that buzz about the town again.
And they're going for a record crowd later on in the season.
Right.
I think they've got Sigala performing there, and there's a load of kids coming to do a big dance on the pitch.
Yeah.
I think they're aiming for like 9,000 or something ridiculous like that.
And that's what you got to do if you want to be in the Super League. You've got to show before it. This is we've got to turn our games into events, not matches. It's like what Lee do. Every match is a proper event. It's not just a match.
No, 100%. Yeah, I completely echo everything you said about Oldham. I think Mike Ford's a great guy as well. Easy to, if you want to speak to him, to pick up the phone and ring him. He'll speak to anybody. If you're talking rugby league, anything about promoting rugby league, he's an open door for you. I think can only shout about everything Oldham are doing.
Yeah.
However, there's another team that, against all odds, of really cracking the Championship this year. Halifax Halifax Panthers are absolutely flying at the top of the Championship. Who'd have thought of that at the start of the season?
Who would have thought Featherstone 12th, Halifax 1st? Who would have thought it was the way around?
Not me, mate. No. Not me.
And I didn't predict that. I mean, I said all along, didn't I, to you, that they've got a very, very small squad. But what they've got at the moment is that squad are playing week in, week out. They've not gone beyond, from what I can see, they've not gone beyond number 20 in their squad on the back of the shirts. So every week they've got players putting their hand up, I'll play. And they've just got that buzz about the team.
Yeah, played 6, won 6, 100% winning record. All culminates in a massive Good Friday derby this week, Bradford versus Halifax.
Yeah.
Two teams have really got something to prove. Mate, that is lined up for an absolute cracker this weekend.
It's lined up to be a points fest. I would not be surprised if it came out as something like 46-40, because they're averaging 34 points every game.
Yeah.
I would not have expected that at the start of the season.
No, I mean, we watched them, they were on TV, weren't they, against Catalan before the season had even started, and they gave Catalan a real good run for the money, and we both sort of said, look, they've got a quality team, but there's no strength in depth. They don't have they were only just about fielding a full strength side, weren't they, at one point? Do we still think they've got enough strength in depth now to keep up that top end of the table? I know they've got some loan players here from St Helens.
But they don't have many, though. from what I can see. They don't have many loan players. They're players, like I say, if you go above 20, squad number 20, that's when you start looking at your loan players. But I don't think they're doing that. What they've got this season, though, they've obviously got some entertaining players, or players who are playing in an entertaining way. And who better than Kyle Eastman, who, when he was in Super League with Saints, he was entertaining.
Oh, mate, 100% he was entertaining. He was like, it was almost like a bit of a... He reminded me a little bit of Jason Robinson, the speed he had, didn't he? And we don't really know much about his coaching style. I mean, this is his first, I believe this is his first proper head coaching job. And what a start. I mean, what a story for Halifax. The only thing I'd say with Halifax right now, the top of the league, the fans need to get back down to the Shea and support this team, because they still aren't bringing in massive crowds. They really need to get the fans behind them to continue to grow now.
I don't know what the crowds are like, but I do know on a normal game like last year, they weren't bringing in big crowds. I think, people say to me, you have a winning team, the crowds will come back. They don't, because if you've been a club that hasn't done well for a number of years, right, it's going to take a while for the average fan who are on the fence to trust the club again. Obviously, the 100% record, but there'll be some fans thinking, yeah, but they've beaten Barrow, haven't they? They've beaten York, they've beaten Batley. Once they start, if they win against Bradford this Friday, I think that will mean Halifax are in business this season. If they get beat by Bradford, this will be a test of the character of the players. Will they then start to think, oh God, we got beat, so maybe lacking... I don't know. This is going to be tough to call, this one.
Yeah, I agree, mate. But, you know, it's a great story for Championship. It would have been so boring if we'd have had, like, the high-spending teams were just straight at the top of the table and nobody else could beat them. We haven't got that. It's a more competitive league than Super League. Even here, we're sitting here debating, thinking who's going to win. Actually, we could be bloody miles off. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a text from you at the weekend and go, didn't expect that result coming through the weekend. And that's the Championship all over, isn't it?
It is. I mean, we've talked about the clubs who are spending loads and loads of money, and you expect them to be at the top, but we want clubs to be standing up to them, and Halifax are just definitely doing that. For me, I want my own team up there, but, you know, it's just great to see the likes of Halifax up there contending.
Yeah, so I think in summary, Championship has been brilliant to start with this season. Long may it continue. Mark, are you coming back to do another episode?
I'd love to.
The people want it and they keep asking for you, so are you going to be there?
I'd love to. And next time, I'd love to be able to talk about a few more wins for Widnes. And then we've got a bit more enthusiasm, and also that Halifax is still up there and Barrow still fighting.
Right, remember to hit the like, subscribe button and, share this. If you want more Championship Rugby League, push it out to people. Let them know there is a Championship show now. It exists. We're going to keep doing it. So thanks for watching and see you next time.